Okay, welcome everybody back to round 2 of IMSA Series 6 here at Still Racing. We're racing at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya today. Currently on my own in the broadcast booth. We're hoping that Steve is going to be able to join us in a short while. Struggling for attendance today, unfortunately, but we'll make do whatever comes. I'm sure we'll get someone in here for the start of the race. So the difference today is we're racing at the historic layout, so that cuts out what you can actually see in the background of your screen here, what would normally be the end of the back straight, and you take the deeper route, the more bendy corners, shall we say, rather than the sharp, tight corners. And then actually what you do is you don't take the normal chicane, you do what F1 currently do, and you go straight onto that big sweeping corner and then onto the straight, which gives you a much better chance of overtaking into turn 1 because that slipstream effect is applied for much longer. I was about to say you're seeing live images. You're not really. Not with that view. Anyway, there we go. So about a minute left, if that, on practice. In fact, the checkered flag has just fallen. There you go. And that means we're going to go into qualifying. We're going to follow the usual qualifying route that we would expect. The 14 minutes, then a 2-minute sort of checkered flag to green flag period, and then another 14 minutes of running for the hypercars. So obviously GT3 will go first, as we expect to see. So GT3 still split into Pro and Am as we went over last week. Not doing that in the GTP category this season, but GT3 we still have a Pro and Am split, and obviously they all qualify together and grid up together. So we'll look at the full class set all as one going into this session, but obviously the points will be decided Am and Pro. The battle at the front in Am last time out was between Adam Jarvis, who you can see he's set the quickest time in practice. I don't believe that'll be correct. I think that's just a randomly organised list. And then obviously with Ignis, who won the championship last season. Still great to see, as we went over last week, that big mix of cars and manufacturers that we've got in the series this time around. It's great to see a little more variation than we had last time. We had a mega battle at the front of Pro last week as well. I can't actually recall who won that race because it was just an endless battle. It was about 4 or 5 cars. I think they were all Ferraris, ironically, dueling it out at the Red Bull Ring last time out in Austria. Like I said, we're at Circuit Barcelona, Catalunya today. A little bit of a different circuit to Austria, often seen as a circuit that challenges all aspects of the car, perhaps a more rounded circuit in that aspect. So we're going to get to see how the drivers deal with that as well today, which is going to be an interesting challenge. There's a lot of different corners and a lot of different setup choices you got to make, and particularly if this layout hasn't been run for a little bit, they'll have had to adapt what you would perhaps call a normal GT3 setup for the normal layout here, which the drivers won't be having to do because they're already aware of what they will be doing. So Ignis, there we go. It's the first car to set a lap, or will be trying to set a lap. Let's follow on board as he goes through turn 1 and 2's car behind's got a very nice toe. Can't quite make out the number of the car behind on track. Believe it's Adam Jarvis in 91, following out his rival, trying to see where perhaps the Porsche is a little bit more quicker through certain corners or quicker on the straights, and perhaps the Ford is that Adam Jarvis is driving. Xavier Ponta takes the purple first sector, but that's quickly wiped away as everybody is trying to set purple first sector. I can tell you the first sector currently for quickest is with Oriol Falch, who is 3 times quicker than the car that you're watching at the moment, Ignis, who appears to have backed out of the lap because that's Adam Jarvis going through. So Ignis clearly not happy with the start of the lap, but what he needs to do now is watch what Adam does on this lap and see where the Mustang has the advantage if we expect to see these two locked out in a battle as we have so far. Let's go and watch Oriol. He's got that purple sector 1 so far, and Jarvis says purple sector 2 because he's the first car to go through there at full belt. That's quickly beaten by Fabio Ponta, the Pro driver. This is where the layout first variates from the traditional Grand Prix circuit that we're also used to, and then through this very technical section, it can feel very, very slow through here because it's kind of medium to slow to medium speed. But then you can quickly plant your foot down here. See the GT3 is having to be very cautious. He rides all the way over the sausage curb. Is that an off track? I don't believe it is. So you can get away with a lot there. See, Fabio Ponta sets the benchmark time of a 1:41.7. I think we're going to see Oriol beat it, but he can't. 6 tenths down, so the rest of the lap wasn't there. Fabio Ponta has the purple second and third sectors, so he is the quickest car at the moment in the Ferrari. And we see quickly our 3 usual suspects from the first round go straight up to the front. The Ferrari's looking very strong. Vincent Asmas as well. Vincent assumes back up to the front as well. Only nearly 5 tenths in fact off of a leader. So Fabio Ponta and Luigi Nespolini laying down a big marker there. They're sort of, I believe they're teammates. I could be wrong, but both the Italian drivers running the Ferrari at the very least, and that's a big marker to throw down there. 3 tenths clear of the next car, and Fabio Ponta is nearly half a second clear of Alessandro Izzo, which is, you know, a big gap to be throwing down in what is only a 14-minute session, of which we've already had 4.5 minutes. So it's still just under 10 minutes to go, 9 minutes and 20 seconds thereabouts to go in this session. So still a lot of time to settle out time, and some people may have gone for a more bank lap. I can tell you no one set a purple first sector this time around. I wonder if that's because people are cooking the tyres a little bit. I'm not sure what the temperature's like. Let's see if we can get that on the screen for you, but maybe people taking a cooler lap, a slower lap to cool down. But a lot of green sectors, so I don't think anyone's really backing off as such, but maybe they just don't actually have the ability in the car to push that much on the second lap, and that'll be telling for these cars if they want to come in and do one more run or try and fit in 2. Not quite sure on the times. 1:41.7 is a sort of flying lap time, so let's say it's a 1:45 to get around on your flying lap. Probably be about 2 minutes from the pit lane exit down to the start finish line that you'll need at the end of the session. So it's going to be really, really difficult to try and fit 2 extra runs in here, but I think some of them are going to try and do it. Mega laps from the 2 cars at the front as Daruva pulls off there out of the way in the pit lane. Perhaps a black flag for speeding in the pit lane. We haven't seen that pop up, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's why he pulled over to stop that. It would be the usual reason. Adam Watson in the Corvette out here trying to set some more competitive laps. He had a pretty good qualifying last week and a pretty good start to the race. It was very, very competitive early on, but then making a lot of moves on lap 1 and into lap 2, but then he had a slow down to serve, and that kind of put him back amongst a bit more of a scrappy group of drivers, a bit more of a difficult pack to move forward in. That was the battle. In fact, I believe he was around the GT3 AM competitors for the wins. So that'd be Ignis and Adam Jarvis, who we see again only separated by 300ths of a second so far. He got caught up in that. Let's see if he can have a better weekend in the Corvette today. Matteo Vitali goes to P3 in the Corvette as well. Don't think we caught that, or perhaps we didn't. I wasn't paying quite enough attention, but that's a good showing from the Corvette. Shows that he can do it. Adam Watson with a yellow middle sector, so he's going to need to find something special in this last sector that we've gone through. You can see the GT3 having to back up a lot through that corner in qualifying trim. Formula 1 was obviously here last week, and we saw those cars able to go flat through that sector, so that just shows the difference in these cars. And I think the GTPs that we'll see, the hypercars that we'll see come out in the next bit of qualifying, will be much more confident on the throttle through that technical, well, it's not really technical, but that flat out high speed section. Let's have a look at Fabio Ponta, who is trying to set another lap time to go even quicker than he has so far, and it's a green sector 1, I can tell you. Let's see what his sector 2 is. He's going to come across the sector line shortly, and it's a yellow sector, but it's still quicker than anybody else who's out on the track at the moment, so it's not necessarily over for him yet. He's probably about net equal, and there's perhaps a little bit more to gain in the last sector as we see that beautiful looking Mustang behind, seemingly chasing him down. But I think he'll be looking for a tow down the start finish straight here. Fabio Ponta just able to be sort of nailed, and it's just doing what he wants. You can see he's having to lift a little bit there, but using as much of the exit curve as he gets away with, and that lets him set that purple final sector. And I tell you what, he hasn't improved, but he was only 7 thousandths off of improving. As Vincent Ossems of a Dutch driver moves up to P3 in the Ferrari. That's closed down the gap to the cars ahead a little bit. So hopefully there can be some more movement up there. Alex Kimball sets an improved time there, but it still leaves him 1.5 seconds off the pace of the pole sitter. But there's still 4 cars, at least 4 cars, I think only 4 cars, that haven't set a lap time at all yet. There's 4 cars that haven't set a lap time at all, and they'll need to find something. Oriol Falk has gone purple in sector 1, and that's going to move him up to P4. Nice showing for the Mustang there, so it's not all Ferrari at the front. And remember, we've got a full race distance to go of a 1 hour that will start after this. So that could be pretty crucial in the full race distance scenario. There's a lot to change from qualifying. Higher fuel loads. Fuel consumption will be different. AJ Marston goes up to P5. Pack racing. How much fuel can you save? We saw some people kind of hope to make the 1 stop last time. It didn't quite make it work, but they were able to save a lot of fuel tucked up behind people, and that actually led to shorter stops, which we saw ultimately in GT3 AM. A shorter stop give the win to Adam Jarvis as he put in less fuel in that final stop. He was stationary for about 2 less seconds than Ignis was in the final stops, and he came out ahead of Ignis after that cycle. So there's clearly a lot to gain from doing it that way around. 3.5 minutes to go in the remainder of this session. This is Alexi Kimball, who's green at the moment. Currently sits in 17th place, 1.6 seconds off of pole position, but there's definitely improvements to be found on this lap. It's yellow in the final sector, but where can he go? Does he move up? Well, it was an improved lap time, but not an improved position. He went about 2 times quicker than he previously did, but that's not going to move him up the order. He's going to need to find a little bit more. Daniel Maggioni, a pro driver, sat down in 15th place overall. You know, there's a couple of AMs ahead of him. Adam Jarvis and Ignis, usual suspects in AM, would expect to be a little bit further ahead. Obviously, race control and the stewarding team, the admin team, will take a look at the AM Pro split after 2 rounds and see if there are any changes that needs to be made. But Daniel Maggioni would be hoping to get ahead of all of them, and in particular be hoping to get ahead of Denzel de River, who's just ahead of him, and it's only 300ths ahead of him when you look at that gap, actually. So he'll be hoping to move ahead of at least one more AM driver before the end of this session. But saying that, 2.5 minutes to go. It's just enough time to get that very, very quick what'll have to be out lap. So it's about getting the heat into the tyres, but you don't want to overwork the tyres, and that's what's going to be critical for these guys here. Can they complete the lap time? Can they complete the lap to the start-finish line and get there before the checkered flag? And that's what will allow them to complete a lap. And can they do it without going too slow? That's session over for Jesus, who pulls off of the line. 2-minute warning for checkered flag there. You see coming from race control, Alessandro Izzo pulls out from behind his teammate. Cheeky little toe there, perhaps. That's what it looked like. Obviously, his teammate there, the 107 car, Luigi Nespolini, currently sits in P2, so trying to help his teammate along a little bit. And I'll tell you what, Izzo has gone green in that middle sector. It's a pretty good middle sector, on par with what we've seen the front runners doing. He flashes his headlights, get out of my way, to the cars in front. Uses all of the curb. Was that within the limits? It was. Comes to the line, yellow, green, green, and tell you what, it's good enough for 4th place. That's a mega improvement that'll really help him out in the race. It's currently a Ferrari 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's going to come out of the pit lane, I suspect, to maybe try and give a tow to one of his teammates who's yet to come across the line. That would be the assumption. Ignis here. Let's go on board. We got missed out on that earlier on-board run with the driver. Oh, big wiggle in what I believe is turn 5 off the top of my head. But he's going to keep going. Fabio Ponte, the pole sitter, is yellow, but purple in the middle sector. Can he improve overall? It was a pretty decent first sector as well. It wasn't particularly off the pace. Ignis needs to find something here if he wants to move ahead of Adam Jarvis and try and claw back and get back on equal terms in the title battle. Points for qualifying as well. We've seen it come down to the points scored in qualifying before in previous seasons. In fact, last season we saw some positions in the overall championship decided by the results of qualifying sessions, enough points to swing it either way. I believe it's about 10% of race points, but obviously over an 8-round season it's nearly a full race worth of points. 80% of a full race worth of points that you can gain or lose in qualifying. Wiggles on the exit there. Ignis clearly running a very loose setup on the car, and he doesn't improve. That's not good enough for him. That's checkered flag as well. So session over for the driver. Alexi Kimball across the line. Doesn't improve. Improves the lap time. Stays 17th quickest. This is Dominic Knockel, one of the last few drivers out to set a lap. The car 911 is out on track as well. Kiki just ahead of this driver. Let's watch Dominic so far because he's green in sector 1. Kiko Lakai won't be able to start another lap because he started this lap in the pit lane, so just a side lap for him as he pulls off to get out of the way. What can Dominic Knockel do? He's trying to move up from 12th place. The one of 2 Audis in the session, taking part in the championship. And I tell you what, it's not even an improvement. Half a 10th down on what he did the previous time, but P12 is a pretty solid starting point. We can see the hypercars lining up in the pit lane. Eager to get out, as usual. We're used to seeing it with these guys now. Mohamed Colombo in the fat liveried Porsche. Lovely car. Prepping himself for qualifying. He'll be hoping for an improvement over last time. And now we have Christopher Steiler. PCF Racing Purple. I believe he's the second car in the queue. Tell a lie. Fifth car in the queue. Got there eventually. Head-on view is very deceiving, that. As the GTPs roll out on track, so tyre temp critical in this class. Get as much temperature as you can into the compound before you set out for the flying lap. And see some very, very slow driving. Seems weird to say. Want to point out that mix of class of cars we've got as well, that 15 kilogram ballast that's been added to the Acura to try and get a bit more competition into it, a bit more variation in the cars, and we're seeing it work. Believe we still have an Acura victory, or at least an Acura podium. Last time round I think we had one of each manufacturer on the podium. No BMWs unfortunately, but one of each of the other manufacturers was on the podium. Christoph Steiler getting ready for the flying lap. Let's take a look. Let's go on board with the first car that's going to set a lap time and see if we can point out some of the differences. It's going to be Quinten Verdonk between himself and what the GT3s were doing. In fact, let's go on board quickly. See how much quicker he is through here. It is a lift. It is a downshift, but he's early back on the power. You can hear the high revving of the Porsche engine in the back of his car. Gonna dive down into turn 1, carry as much speed as you can up the hill. Down to third. Oh, a little bit late picking up the throttle, a little bit later than he would have wanted to be, but he gets back on through this difficult long right-hander. You want to pick up the throttle as early as possible, lift as little as possible through the whole corner. Now into the first braking zone after turn 1 of the lap. Coast it through gently. Don't need to get too good at exit here. There's a lot of time to be gained on the entry and mid-quarter because you're going into a much heavier braking zone. You see couple of corrections there, actually. Front tyres not quite in the window they need to be. Oyster Herford has gone quickest in Sector 1. But let's follow on board with Quinton Verdonk because he gets all loose. And onto the gravel. That's lap over for Quinton. Nobody around for him to impede at that moment, but he's going to carry on and go for a second consecutive lap, you would have to imagine. Oyster Herford hit. Takes the purple sector from Sergio Santos in Sector 2, who said it just a few moments before, about 4 seconds up the road. He's been quick so far today, in practice as well, I believe. Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2. This is going to be the benchmark time unless something goes drastically wrong through it. Let's take a listen as he comes through the high-speed corner. Much less lift than we saw from the Porsche, sorry, through there, but this is a hot lap, remember. Oh, and I tell you what, Oyster Herford, 28.6, half a second quicker than Sanchez, and a second clear of Alejandro Vargas. The Acura throwing down a big marker here. Saying that, Christoph Steiler, 2.5 seconds down. He'll need to find pace to improve in that car. Mohamed Colombo, a little bit down the order. He'll be trying to find improvements. Quinton Verdonk has set the purple Sector 1 as he attempts to have another go. Run into that fast left-hander as he comes up sneaking. This is where he had the mistake last time. And another fast right-hander onto the back stretch. He's about to cross the timing line for Sector 2, and it's purple again. Quicker than Oyster Herford last time round so far. But Oyster takes the purple Sector 2 back. Didn't match or beat Quinton in Sector 1 though. Quinton a tenth quicker in Sector 1. The same time roughly in Sector 2, down to 1 decimal point of a second, 1/10 of a second. They're within each other in Sector 2. So the advantage currently to Quinton on this run. What can the Porsche do as it comes across the line? Puts him to the top. Cleared by a 10th of Oyster. He then sets a purple time and goes back to the top by 2.5, 3/10. So, a bit more of a cool lap here for the drivers. Coming through Sector 1. I'm going to see yellow sectors for most of these guys. This is a cool down lap. Get the tyres back in the optimal window before the second run. Jan Volmers, green in Sector 1, he's on a run. Let's take a look. Green in Sector 2. So finding improvement, currently sits about 8/10 off of the lead, but only 2 thousandths behind Vargas and only about 7/100ths off of Emre. There's definitely potential to move up the order here and get towards that top bubble of drivers that we can see at the moment. Pretty decent sector times as well, not far off those of the leaders. Sanchez is in the pit lane. He beat Quinton. Moves up to P2. Jan Volmers moves up to P5. Leader of the second pack at the moment. We'll point out as well, seats are still available for the Anstor Racing IMSA Series Season 6 on the website, which you can visit using the link in the description. And for those of you who are interested, I'm sure we will be back for another season. Not confirmed yet, but likely to be the case. And when we do so, it'll be with more drivers in the field. A lot of people on a summer break of sorts at the moment. They would have missed too many rounds. We have got one drop round as well. But we'll be going back to the Pro-Am split for next season. We have had some requests for the involvement of the LMP2 as well, but Looking at the official entries at the moment, potentially considering that, but at the moment the plan is Pro-Am in both classes again. Oyston Hereford on a good lap. Purple in sector 1. Sorry, green in sector 1, purple in sector 2. Reaver sweeping left-hander. Car gets a little bit wiggly on the end. We saw it grip up again. Now this difficult, tedious, boringly long right-hand corner as you're driving through it. Now the fast double left-hander. Keep it pinned. Use the inside to shorten the run. And then use the left-hand side to extend the run to minimize the corner. It's not an improvement. A little bit too slow in the subsequent sectors. Go to the top. Nobody on a flying run really so far. Emre looking to improve and move ahead of Jan Volmers, but it's not coming this lap so far unless he's going to find something mega through here, but he doesn't look like he's pushing that much compared to some of the other drivers we've seen. That delivery does look good though. Won't find him any speed, but green will look intimidating in the rearview mirror of some of his competitors. Quinton Bedonk, green in sector 1, Oyston Hereford, purple in sector 1. These two won't stop. Oyston 1/10 quicker so far this lap. Obviously that's through sector 1. Let's see what they can do through sector 2. Sanchez sets the purple sector 2 actually, as Emre sets the purple sector 1. So Emre quite far down the order. He's looking to improve significantly. Oyston Hereford has pulled off the road. He's back in the pit lane. Clearly knows his timings. He's got to get... Clearly didn't feel the car was where it needed to be and decided to get one more run in while he can. Don't hit that sausage curb, Sanchez. That's not what you want to do. Runs deep. Uses all of the track. I have to say, I wouldn't call it running deep. And Sanchez stays P3, but Quinton Verdonk moves up to P2 with a pretty good lap time there. Now only 1/10 behind his competitor. But Emre, that's the driver we need to be focusing on in that lovely Cadillac. Trying to find a little bit more time, but he's purple-green, so he'll definitely be flying up the order in one way or another unless he invalidates or has a moment through here. The roar of the Cadillac engine, you can hear that. Mega lap there from Emre. Within 1/10 of the pole sitter. That's a big improvement. That's what he needed to do. Right now, once again, we've got 3 manufacturers in the top 3, and Emre's not over yet. He's coming back out. 1:28 on a flying lap here. There's about 3 minutes to go, so he might get a warm of a flyer and another flyer, or perhaps a double warm up into a flyer. It's got about 3.5 minutes left. Yeah, he'll be able to get 2 in. You would have thought Sanchez got that purple sector 2, didn't improve in sector 1, but maybe he's trying to preserve the tyre life a little bit more for later in the lap. That wasn't an off track. It looked like it was going to be, but it's not. I think this track has the F1 rules applied to it. Sanchez moves up to P2 within 1/10, nearly within 1/2 of Oyston Hereford. The battle is on. Emre will need to improve again if he wants to get back on the front row. Cadillac's looking strong here today. Oyston getting the most out of that accurate to get it up near the front. But the Cadillacs and the Porsches look strong. Sanchez pulls off. His session is over now. Saying that, 2.5 minutes left to go. If he's quick, he can get another flyer in. That requires him. He's out of the car. That'll be it for Sergio Sanchez. P2 will be his best effort. Can he improve any further? Well, we'll have to wait and see. He can't improve any further, but how much further will he drop down? That's going to be the question as the session progresses. Daniel Reneke pushing on through the high-speed corner here. He'll be trying to improve. It's green-yellow. Run to the line. Yellow, third sector. Perhaps turned it into a bit more of a warm-up. We can't see many people improving, but maybe they're all trying to warm up for their final flying lap. This won't be his final. He can take this a little bit more careful if he's got enough fuel and wants to get the car in a perfect window for that final flyer. We all know how critical being in that optimal window is. Mohamed Kalambo struggling to find the pace in the Porsche, the only British driver in the field, but 2.5 seconds off the car ahead of him. Hopefully the race pace is there for him, or he can stay out of trouble, do something a little bit different on fuel perhaps. Quinta Verdonk goes green in the final sector. That's probably prep for another flyer. Let's see what he can do. Let's go on board and follow him around the lap. Hitting a lot of curb through turn 2. Look how much more planted he is than we saw earlier in the session. Now that he's had a few more prep laps and he's defined and refined that line more. Oyster Hereford goes purple in sector 2. It was yellow sector 1, a couple of tenths off what he was able to do earlier in the session, but he's clawed that time back in sector 2 with what is a pretty good sector 2 as well. So pole position, Bell is still on. Oyster Hereford will be looking to extend his gap at the front. Quinta Verdonk will be looking to fight back. The driver who was a favourite after the first few laps takes a lot of curb there, and that is for Quinta Verdonk lap over, because that was an off track. Oyster Hereford goes quicker at the front with a 1:28.151. That puts him 2 times clear of Sanchez, who obviously won't be able to fight back now. Saying that, Sanchez is out on track, but he won't get around to the start finishing time. Quinta Verdonk moves up to P4. Does he? No, something happened there. He's always been P4 and he pulls into the pits. It's not going to be an improvement for him. Emre, though, purple in sector 1. 2 times quicker than what the pole sitter did this time round. What can he do in this Cadillac? I promise you he's not got 0% SOC. That's just what iRacing likes to tell you if you're not the guy that driving the car. Through the quick right-hander. Very, very good. Kept on the throttle a lot there. Sure, that will be green. No, it's yellow. And a couple 4 temps off of what the leader did. So he's going to need to find at least 2 temps through his final sector to move up to pole position. Currently on track to slot in around P2, you would have thought, but it's very, very marginal. Someone briefly gets on the radio. Here it is then. This is what it's all going to come down to. Sanchez did improve. He had time to improve. Can Emre do? Where's that going to move him? Stays where he is. Isn't able to improve. Mohamed Kalambo is yellow and yellow, so that's going to be your grid for GTP. Oyster Hereford will be on pole position and score the points according. So Sergio Sanchez, stronger showing than last week, currently sitting in P2, followed by Emre Kamalde, the Dutchman. Then followed by Quinton Verdonk in P4, who would have been hoping for more, had the potential for more. Couldn't string the lap together when it came down to it. Jan Volmers in P5, Albert Preem in P6, Alejandro Vargas P7, Daniel Reneke in P8, and then obviously followed by Christoph Steiler in P9 and Mohamed Kalambo in P10, a little bit off the pace. So that's your qualifying session. We're going to go into warm-up now, where we'll just take a very, very brief break and then we'll come back and look at the results. Okay, we're in warm-up now. Let's take a look at the grid. It's going to show up. I'll tell you what, it's not. Let's do it through the results tab. Results qualifying for GT3 overall. The pole sitter in GT3 will be Fabio Ponta for 07 Racing. Trackside Esports, Vincent Assums in P2. then Luigi Nesbolina, Alessandro Izzo, both from 07 Racing, popping in P3 and P4. Ariel Folsch, the privateer, AJ Marston, P6. Matteo Ubertali, Absolute Motorsport with Asalif in P7. Daniel Moore, P8. Adam Watson, P9. Adam Jarvis just managed to pip his rival Ignis to P10. And P9 for Ignis, of course. That's probably self-explanatory. Dominic Knockel, P12. Kiko Lakaye in P13. Denzel De Roiva in P14. Daniel Maggioni, P15. Alvaro Valsarque in P16. Alexi Kimball in P17. Jesus Savadera in P18. Charlie Lord, P19. Matteo Lemroy in P19. In P20, sorry, I believe. Matteo is the chat member saying that it's driving very slippery, like driving on soap without TC. So clearly struggling with the setup that he's got on that Ford. Then Jose Villero and Jason Hodgson, neither of those cars set a lap time. If they start the race, it will be starting in P22 and P23. Oh, moment there for Emre in warm-up. He's going to go back out. Warm-up can seem a little bit tedious during sort of this 5 minutes during the broadcast, but for drivers it's critical. Everybody is out on track, and as you can see here already, it's one of those times where people get to manage the traffic a little bit better. Just being joined by Amy. I believe you're going to be broadcasting alongside me for the race. It's great to have you. Obviously competed in the series last season and have been helping out in the steward room so far this season. What do you think we should be looking out for in the race?
We should definitely look out for the lead of the GT3 AM for the moment. So we have Adam Jarvis and Ignis. That will compete pretty nicely, I assume. And I'm really looking forward how far ahead in the pro group they can get.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last time they were mixing it up with the pros, and actually we're kind of racing each other so close that none of the other AMs and such a high playing field.
As your weekly reminder, your race will not start on the green flag. Your race will start when your class's pole sitter goes within the start zone as indicated in the PDF. So basically, roughly ending where the finish line ends. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck with the temperature in-game and in real life, and I hope you enjoy.
Your usual reminder there from our race director Andy that the race does not start on the green flag. The drivers all know that, but it's just worth reminding when we have people that are new to the series. Yeah, that battle in GT3 AM, like you said last week, they were mixing it up with the pros. I think we'll see the same this week. They were just lap after lap chasing each other. I don't know if they were necessarily that much quicker than the rest of the pack, but they were just pushing each other to the absolute limits the entire time.
Yeah, I always have to say I somewhat sneeze potential up there for those two. But nonetheless, that will be very interesting where they can get a long term in the Pro Pack then, if that happens.
Yeah, potentially. I'm sure Race Control will assess the split after a couple of rounds. And we might get some rearrangements, but for now, they're fighting for the win. Adam Jarvis and Ignis, who we saw last week, that's going to be the key battle down there. GT3 Pro ran very close all of last week as well, but didn't see many overtakes because they were sort of all just hanging on to each other just in the tote the entire time. And GTP, we didn't see much action until the sort of closing stint of last week, but I think we're going to get a little bit more this time. So the drivers gridding up I believe they will be gridding up on what is the back stretch. It is.
Yeah. To be fair, last week and this week are both tracks that are, let's say, not considered high opportunity tracks for overtakings. But I'm pretty sure we will see a lot of intense overtaking in multi-class here this week.
Yeah, I think that like you said, a multi-class battle is going to be really interesting. Turn 1, 2, 3, that kind of complex is really difficult. You're switching sides of the track to go through there on the normal racing line. How does that play with the traffic? That's going to be interesting to see. Oyster Hereford will lead them to the green in GTP. Yeah, I think there's also going to be overtaking opportunities into turn 1 within your class with that big run down and that chicane that won't be slowing people down anymore. So the slipstream will start much earlier. The gains from that will be much bigger as you approach turn 1, and maybe we can get people getting a little bit sendy into turn 1. Safe but exciting is what we want to see. As we're about to go to the green then. A little bit far away. Let's watch them. When is Oyston going to go? That's critical. I believe that is now the start zone. Now he's past that DRS line. Don't know when he has to go by. I think it might be the end of that tyre barrier, or it might just be the start-finish line. It's the start-finish line, and he leaves it as late as possible. And he gets away very well, you'd have to say. Sergio Sanchez will be the next driver behind. We're watching the GT3s in the background as the hypercars all come sweeping through turn 1. And Oyston retains the lead. Sergio Sanchez in P2. Quinton Verdonk having a look on Emery in the background there. Let's go and watch the GT3s as they come to the green.
Race controller got rear-ended before it even started.
Charlie Lord on the radio there reporting an incident, and that'll be investigated as they go. Surely there's going to be contact. No, they all slot through pretty well. What about further back through the pack? Everybody making it through. A slow-moving BMW there. I believe that's Daniel Morphy, but everybody's made it through fairly cleanly. GT3s are raw at the engine as they all go side by side through the weeping complex there. That was the Mustang of Denzel Deruva having a look there in the background. Someone's been on the dirt. We can see it being kicked up. Denzel will be looking for a move down the inside surely here. No, he thinks the better of it. But then the Drakeem car behind thinks, if you're not going for it, I am. But it's not enough to make the move stick. But he's going to go for it down the inside of what is a very difficult corner, and it's not going to go his way. Slight contact and he spins out.
Right control, can you check turn 7, please?
Sure, that will be
As
reviewed.
well, a very difficult corner to do those moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at what happened with Charlie Lord and Anthony Kotara before the race even started. Tell you what, I can't see them in that pack. But, oh, there we go. Right at the back, we saw it there. The Ferrari, Anthony Kotara, perhaps jumping the start a little bit, trying to preempt the start. That's under review from race control. Let's take another look at what happened with Matteo. He's going to have a look down the inside here. What's going to be critical is, was he left enough space at the apex? It's really hard to tell from that angle. We'll leave that for race control to decide. There's been another incident as well with involving Alvaro. What is going to be, as Ignis is involved as well, and they all pack up into the corner. And that's Adam Jarvis just ahead trying to make some moves on Pro Cars so that he can gain the advantage a little bit. And was there contact, or was that just a lost rear end? Everybody slots through nice and safely though. That'll be under investigation from race control.
I'm actually pretty sure that was just a spin by himself. But things happen, especially in the heat of lap 1. No surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot going on there. A lot of cars in this GT3 field. 32 in total. They're all racing each other pretty hard, unsurprisingly. You are going to have incidents occasionally. Ignis It's right on the tail, as you would expect of Adam Jarvis, looking for any opportunity to get by. It's not going to be an easy move to make. Like we said before we started the race, it is going to be difficult to overtake. The main opportunity is surely going to be that run down into turn 1. Can Ignis... You've got to stay close, so it's really difficult in the GT3 to stay close through that sort of corner. But he has done a fairly decent job. It's not going to be enough to make a move into turn 1, you would have thought, though. It's about the closest battle we got on track as well. See the pro field.
Still about 2 or 3 laps to go until the GTPs will start sweeping the GT3s here.
Yeah, we're about 4 minutes in, and they're halfway. Well, they're on the opposite side of the track. Worth watching the instant points as well that people have accrued. Charlie Lord has got three of them for off tracks, and the 4x for the instant at the start. Obviously, we saw people getting drive-throughs last week out in Spielberg. Obviously, a difficult track for that, Amy, as I'm sure you'll agree. Very easy to pick up the instant points around the Red Bull Ring. Maybe I don't really know what it's like here, Amy. What is it like in terms of instant points?
I think it's actually pretty easy to stay within the boundaries here compared to last week's. Last week, like, Red Bull Ring, always a very difficult thing. You either drop half a second of pace or stay on pace, but always risk those off tracks in several corners of the lap. Yeah, we are pretty safe to go. I think we have like 1 or 2 corners that are considered kind of difficult to get the angle correct. The rest of the track is pretty safe in terms of off tracks.
Okay, so we'll monitor that as we go on, but not expected to be as much of a problem as it was last weekend. Last week, sorry. Fabio Ponta sets the purple time in GT3, and it's only 4 thousandths quicker than the car behind him. So it's very much on at the front of the GT3 Pro, as it is at in the pack here. Jose Vilharo is within 1 thousandth of Alex Kimball. I think we've just seen the move off screen. Let's see if they're still battling. They are. Through turn 1 and 2. It looks like Alexei perhaps had an incident further around the track. Let's take a look, see what happened here. Is he going to go into gravel? Yes, he is. And that's just going to cost him a little bit of speed as he goes through this high-speed corner. He's not going to have got the optimal exit, and that is what has allowed Carlos to close up a little bit more, and then he's going to try and make the move going into turn 1. That is the wrong car. Oh, as we go live, Jose Carlos Villarreiro goes off. Not sure what happened there. Let's take a look. Oh, he's already off there.
And we're now starting getting the GTPs into GT3 range. They are starting to overtake the first GT3 at the moment, and gonna close up soon towards the entire GT3 field.
That's the GT3s, like you say, passing Matteo, who had that incident at the start of the race. Oysen Herford still leads by 1.7 seconds over Sergio Sanchez at his home race in P2. He'll be hoping for a good result here, I'm sure, but it's close behind. Oysen, like you say, Amy, will be coming up on that traffic very, very shortly. There's some directly in front of him here. This is where you want to catch it. Going onto the straight as we'll watch him fly through. What's going to be difficult is when he catches a car through turn 2, through turn 3, and then later on round the lap going onto the back straight. It'll be difficult if he catches them before then. He's going to crucially clear that car as he goes into the braking zone, because otherwise that would have been a serious problem. See just how much more difficult the car is to get through turn 3 now that it's got all of that fuel on board that it didn't during the qualifying session that we saw. There's movements further back. I believe Emre's had an incident. Let's take a look. This is what we mean when we said it would get difficult in the traffic. What's going to go wrong here? Oh, that's not a gap to go for.
That hurts.
that will be under investigation by race control.
And we just saw as well that what you told us, like getting those overtakes on the straight is so important. We saw that the GTP leader was getting about 1.5 seconds advantage because he was able to sweep the pack on the straight instead of the following corners.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. He's gained, like you say, about 1.5 seconds doing that. And you know what they say in endurance racing: traffic giveth and traffic take away. But at the moment, it's really swung Oyston's way. Will it swing back the other direction? A little bit held up there through the final corner. But now he's... Oh, sorry, that's Jan Volmer's a little bit held up through the final corner. He's trying to chase down Sergio Sanchez. He's a couple of car distances ahead and crucially clears a BMW GT3 on his way through turn 1, which Jan isn't able to do. Now pick up the throttle and go through turn 2 and 3 as we see once again this super difficult bit of the track to catch that traffic on. Gonna go to the inside. Jan just about clears Adam Jarvis as he goes into the braking zone, and now he's pushing the GT3 Pro car just ahead through the corner. That's the Corvette of Matteo Ubertali. This is when it gets difficult. You're catching the pro drivers, the tip of the pack. These are the guys that, you know, aren't scared to maybe place their car a little bit differently to not let you through in a place that's going to disadvantage them.
Not
Amy.
even that, but they also take advantage of the entire track, what makes overtaking even more difficult because they take more speed through the corner, so you have less of a delta, and so the GTP has really no big room to play with.
Amy, you drove GT3 last season, obviously. What is it like being lapped by these cars that are such a different speed to you and different in different parts of a track, and how predictable is it what they're going to do?
I think the GT3 part of it is the by far easier part. Like, as a GT3, you don't really have to think much about the traffic because you just drive your line, and as soon as a GTP is showing up in the mirror that he's gonna peak or he's next to you, you just say, okay, I give space and let them go. But the other part, the GTP part, that's the difficult one because you really have to think about when can I go.
Oh, that's going to be an incident
without distracting others too much, as you saw there. Like a little bit too light moved, a bit too much to the outside, and it is instantly a contact. And the GTP is as well.
Oh, and it's going to be again,
much
surely.
more vulnerable car in that combination.
That was Alejandro trying to chase down, believe it was Quinton Verdonk, who was just directly ahead of him, or perhaps Albert Preem. Don't know if he lost a position in that contact. Actually, I don't think he did. So he was chasing down Albert Preem, but he lost about 4 seconds in that incident. So that won't be what he needed. Pretty costly move to go for there. But you can see the GTPs, as soon as they see that opportunity, and they'll use the traffic. Absolutely, they'll use the traffic to any advantage they can, and that's what cost him there, being a little bit overeager into the braking zone, trying to not lose touch with the car ahead. Ignis is ahead of Adam Jarvis. We didn't see that. Let's take a look. It's going to be a decisive move, surely, into the braking zone. Oh, and he just squeezes his way through. To be fair to Adam, he leaves him all the room he was required to. Both using the full extent of the track, and Ignis now has got to try and hang on.
Just a brilliant move into turn 5. Turn 5 as well, one of the main overtaking corners here to look out for.
Daniel Reneke looking for a move on Alejandro Vargas. How things change in just one lap. Last time round, Vargas was the one looking to make the move, and they're both going to go either side of the GT3, and Daniel Reneke is going to have the inside line into the corner as the Cadillacs fight it out on track. Side by side, Daniel Reneke, can he do it in the braking zone? He can't, and Vargas sweeps back around the outside into P6. interestingly, Ignis has pulled a pretty decent gap on Adam Jarvis there. He's maybe struggling a little bit at this point in the race. He was used to leading, and this is going to be crucial. Ignis is trying to make moves. That is going to be so critical. If he can make a move and put a couple of pro cars between himself and Adam Jarvis, that is going to change the face of this battle here. And he's going to go down the inside of Matteo Ubertali in the Corvette. Matteo's not going to give it up that easily, though. But Ignis has got the inside line here, and that's surely going to give him the position. Amy, what's it like being on track as an AM driver when there's pro drivers around and you're kind of racing them, you're kind of not? What's the dynamic? How do you approach that?
I think, especially as a driver like me, who is more considered like the back half of AM pace, usually, it is a pretty easy decision because you can't just leave pro drivers past you if they approach you. And I have to be honest and say that compared to the first season I drove, the last 2 seasons were always pretty great for me, just not being led by pro drivers during the end of the race, because that was my big struggle in the first season.
Yeah, I mean, even then, it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? No blue flags in the IMSA series, and obviously you don't want to give up loads of time letting people through if you're fighting for your own position, but you also don't want to. Espellini asking race control to have a look at an incident. He went off track here. Let's see if this was the incident. Oh no, he's going to have contact with the GTP. Is Nespellini leading his class before that as well?
I don't think so.
The first car to pass him was Izzo, so no. He was running down in, I think, P3 in class, so that'll be interesting for him. That's why he's been on the radio for race control to have a look. They definitely will have a look. Ignis continuing to pull away from Adam Jarvis here. One car between them now, and he's sort of quite quickly hunting down the next car ahead, which is Dominic Knuckle, who's in his own battle just ahead with Luigi Nespellini of all cars, who we just spoke about.
In the meantime, the GTP leader is maintaining their lead against second place, still about 3.5 seconds. But those two pulled away quite well from third and further down the pack. So there's quite a big gap. Everyone driving by their own at the moment, kinda. But as you said earlier, traffic gives, traffic takes. It is one mistake and everything is gone.
Yeah, we just saw Alvaro get past the damaged car. Anthony Katara damaged from that incident before the race even started, I believe. And he's going to go down the inside into turn 1. We saw it live from here on out. And that's a decisive move. Doesn't quite clear him, though, but then does on the exit there as the track tightens up. Single lane through there, really.
Yeah, to be fair, Alvaro has some room to make good again after losing quite a lot in the first lap after spinning. So he's definitely on a way to get some sort of revenge to that.
Yeah, and Charlie Lord here. Obviously, the car that was rear-ended by Anthony Katara on the warm-up, that's been deemed a race incident by race control. So he's going to have to battle it out on track. Looks like the damage isn't too bad to the back of the Ford. Missing a bit of bumper, or it's a bit misshapen either way, but wouldn't be too detrimental performance unless the splitter itself is damaged. As the leader, Oysten Hereford, makes his way past these two cars again, so we are going to get some more traffic making its way through again. So Charlie Lord in a Mustang now, you'd have to imagine, will be studying Anthony Katara ahead. Where's the Ferrari good? Where's this driver in particular good? What are his weaknesses? How's that damage hurting him through certain corners? Is he struggling in the high speed, struggling in the low speed? And what can I take advantage of? Christoph Steiler looking to make a move on Mohamed Colombo. Can he do it down in Zone 1? Mohamed defends the inside. Breaks as late as he can in that fat liveried Porsche. Keeps the position. Go back to that battle in GT3. Charlie Lord trying to make a way through. Perfect timing. Deep on the brakes. What can he do? Muscle his way through with that big Mustang. And that is the position. Parks it in the middle of a road. Nicely done to keep Anthony behind. Caranta will be looking for a way back through. But right now he's got Jesus behind to worry about just as much. Now Charlie Lord got to try and pull away on this straight as Albert Preem tries to make his way through this pack. We can see he was held up a little bit there. Tucks behind, in behind every car he can to try and get that full slipstream advantage. Now what Charlie wants is for him to dive in front of him, and Charlie can pick up a little bit of a tow into turn 1. It won't be much, but it might help him. Adam Jarvis still unable to make his way past Matteo Batali and get back on the tail of his rival here, but only 1.5 seconds, and we're only 20 minutes into the race, and there's still 2 pit stops potentially. Well, expected to be 2 pit stops to go as Matteo Batali's off the road. Can Adam Jarvis take advantage? And he can't because the hypercar goes up the inside.
Also very lucky to not get launched there from Ubatali. Nicely saved, I would say, that off track, but really dangerous jumping over that curb. Probably nearly losing the car, just not steering enough to do that.
Yeah, that sausage curb there, really deadly, isn't it? Christoph Steiler looking for a way through. If this was you, Amy, what would your chosen overtaking place be on the track? Where do you think is the best place to try and make a move that you can be guaranteed will stick?
I think there is no such a place. I think my preferred corner is definitely turn 5, what we see a lot here. And the thing is, turn 1 is nice, is good, but you really risk to go through there together, and taking 1, 2, 3 together is really not what you prefer. So I rather stick to cars and go for turn 4 or turn 5 move. Those turns are just more better suited to do that.
Oh.
And as well, at the end of the back straight is a nice opportunity to take advantage of other people's mistakes.
Yes, Christoph Steiler goes into the gravel there. That's helped him lose touch a little bit there, but Colombo in the pits. First of the hypercars to pit. We'll keep an eye on where he cycles back out. That's not a particularly helpful camera. Daniel Morphy right on the tail of Oriol Folsch in the pro class, and they're both right on the tail of Alessandro Izzo. Mohamed Colombo coming into the pits bang on the 3rd of a race distance mark. Quinton Badonk makes his way through GT3 traffic. Ignis extending the advantage in AM. Now 2 seconds between himself, nearly 3 seconds, and Adam Jarvis down in P2.
George, I have to say I'm really amazed by how much the top 3 AM drivers got away from the rest of the pack there. Like those 12.5 seconds That's a huge gap.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of looks like there's perhaps a little bit of a bottleneck behind Alexi, who is 12 seconds back, and then perhaps Alvaro. Well, Alvaro is right behind it, but then Charlie Lord is about 4 seconds back. We obviously had that incident early on. We don't know if there's any damage on the back of that car. Daruva obviously had that incident at the start of last week's race, Amy, but he's kind of shown a bit more what he's capable of today within 6 seconds of those cars, and actually is very much mixed in the pack, just behind a couple of pro cars. Jarvis looking to make the move here, but right now really held up behind Ubertali, who looks to be struggling a lot, possibly with the tyres at this stage of the race. He was a little bit quicker than this earlier on, but Vincereski's is being able to pull away. Fabio Ponta's in the pit lane, and Vincent Ossam's in the pit lane. Loads of cars in the pit lane from GTP and GT3 Pro. Vincereski's in the pit lane, but Jarvis is able to carry on for one more lap. 24 minutes gone, 35 minutes to go. It's really bizarre. I would have thought Adam Jarvis would come in. He's only going to lose more time every lap he stays out behind Ubertali.
I mean, it really depends on what Adam thinks about his own pace. Like, if he thinks he's gonna be a bottleneck behind that, or maybe even use the draft, use the higher temperature tires that maybe Ignis doesn't have after maybe switching 2 or 3 tires, and then probably taking advantage of that on the track, having less fuel, using that for the time advantage, and maybe overcut, or at least get into the draft.
Yeah, like you say, perhaps just sticking behind these cars will help him a little bit. Maybe make it to half race distance. That would be really difficult though. Be at least another lap after this. What are they running in race trim? 1 minute 43. So just about, well, you need to do 2 more laps to make it to half race distance essentially. So that would be really, really difficult, but it is a strategy he could pursue to try and jump his rival if he doesn't think he could beat him on pace. This is going to be critical. Does he come in or stay out? It looks like he's staying out. He is going to stay out. Is he going to try and make it to half race distance? Definitely got enough fuel for at least 1 more lap. This is where he's really going to struggle though. First lap without that tow, Amy, that you were just talking about, and that's going to cost him a lot, surely.
Yeah, but also with 2 laps more than the competitors, that's really the opportunity to overshoot.
Yeah, we saw him. We saw him doing
overcut
that last
the
time,
other
didn't we? He
drivers.
had a shorter pit stop than both of his rival in the last round. Vincereski's obviously had that 2-second longer stop, which ultimately gave Jarvis a win. Maybe he's trying to do the same here. It'd be really impressive if he was to make it to half race distance, but that'd be at least another lap. In fact, it would be another lap after this, so that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it is possible to get to the half distance here. But I mean, every lap you do more is a lap that you have to fuel less. So
Yeah, and we've seen people
it's gonna be
before.
at advantage anyway at the end.
And we've seen people before just clutch and coast for the entirety of the last lap to try and make it. You save so much time by not pitting. Particularly here, you're going to lose a lot of time pitting because the pit lane is very, very long. And you're on what is already a very, very high-speed bit of the track by the time you enter. So it's a lot of time lost in that pit stop. You can see that by the fact that Ignis is half a minute behind of Adam Jarvis, but Jarvis is in now for his stop, 2 minutes shy, so 1 lap shy of half race distance, so he's going to be about 2 laps shy at the end of the race. He won't be able to make it, you wouldn't imagine, on 1 more stop, but can he make it with a much shorter stop at the end? That's going to be the big question, and I think you'd have to say at the moment it looks like he will be able to. Where's he going to come out relative to Ignis? That's what's going to matter though here. Let's follow Ignis.
Remember, it was about 3 seconds of a gap before pitting started. So we're gonna see. Did he gain? Did he lose?
Can see him now on the right hand side of your screen. Brake lights come off. He started to accelerate. Surely Ignis is going to be clear by a decent margin here. He does pass him. We're going to see him coming out of the pit lane now. Adam Jarvis is going to come out, and I believe, crucially, is he going to come out ahead of Matteo Ubertali? Let's try and see if we can catch that. Yes, he is just. And
That's
was
for
a
sure an important bit of track position, just to not be in that slipstream in case of being slowed down by that. On the other hand, maybe also a disadvantage by having to use more fuel. We're gonna see at the end.
Yeah, I think you can. Let's watch that gap. 4.6 seconds now, and let's see how that comes down over the next few laps. And if he is able to close that gap to Ignis, Ignis is 4.5 seconds off of the next pro car, so no tow for either of them right now as it stands. Then in Reneke clearing Daniel Morphy into the braking zone. I think the sole or one of a few BMW GT3s taking part. Daniel Reneke chasing down Vargas, who's looking for potentially a top 5, but that's 20 seconds off of it right now. So he'll be looking to try and improve in what will be his home race, shall we call it. It is technically the race in Spain, even if everybody is just sat in their rigs. Oyston looks pretty untouchable at the front right now. 6 seconds is a gap. Last time round, a little bit slower than his rival, but they are dealing with traffic intermittently as well. Ignis sets a purple lap time though. Adam Jarvis drops back a little bit. Hard to tell though. That was the outlap for Adam, so maybe I don't think they'll have changed any tyres. Can you change tyres without losing time with the reduced fuel tank size, Amy?
I'm pretty sure you can change 2 or 3 tires without losing anything. And I would wonder if maybe Danzo switched all 4 tires, because he somehow lost about 5 seconds there.
Yeah, maybe chose to swap all 4 tyres now, and then you can just crack on for the rest of the race. Obviously, in that full fuel stop, you can change all of the tyres. Not all of the tyres, most of the tyres. But if you do any tyres later on in that much shorter stop to just get you through the last 5 or 10 minutes of the race, then it's going to be, you know, you're not going to be able to change any tyres without losing any time.
No, not at all.
Daniel Reneke's just dropped off the back of Vargas here a little bit. Maybe charging the battery to try and go again. I'll tell you who hasn't dropped off the back though. Christoph Steiler. He's looking for a move down the inside. He is. That's going to be contact, surely. Well, we went live just at the right time. See if we can have a replay of what happened. Christoph Steiler through the high-speed corner that is, I think, turn 7 or turn 8. It's a late move to go for down the inside there. Oh, and he clipped the curb. No contact. Lost it on the curb. Trying to carry a lot of speed. But clearly he doesn't think it's much of a problem. And he'll probably catch back up to the back of Mohammed. That'll be the aim. Adam Watson with a slowdown losing
underestimated. Probably also underestimated the distance to brake there, and just was a little bit in panic to not crash the other GTP inside.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense. Better to spin on your own than to spin and take someone with you. At least in the eyes of the stewards it will be. Oriol Floch hunting down Luigi Nespolini here, but also being hunted by Adam Watson, who just served that slowdown and lost a few positions. Altitude Esports back in the end, still racing IMSA series in the Corvette this time round. Can he make an impression on the cars ahead? He was just ahead of them a few moments ago, I believe. And he'll be looking to make his way back through, but we've seen how difficult it has been to pass. Ignis is still pulling away from Adam Jarvis there, worth noting. It was about half a second quicker last time round, so maybe Adam is going for this fuel thing after all, trying to get that much shorter stopping at the end. Interestingly, Denzel not
Not to be
able to particularly match either of them as well.
To be fair, that much time loss won't be worth it in the end. So I'm really wondering if that is intentional or if Adam maybe just don't have the pace.
Yeah, very, very possible, because 5 seconds is a big difference to make in a fuel stop. He did go, I believe, 2 laps longer than the others, but that's not enough fuel to make up a 5-second gap right now. Oriole looking for the move. Can't find it anywhere here. The GTP makes his way around the outside, down the inside of turn 5. Vincent Verdonk is hunting down Jan Volmers for P3, trying to take the podium away from his fellow Porsche driver.
Yeah, really closed that gap throughout the last laps. Attacking right now.
Like Oriole had a little go into the braking zone, didn't make it stick. This is a really good run here. The GTP down the inside is going to really advantage Oriole here. Volk is going to look for the move into turn 1. Surely get on the power as early as you can. Tuck into that slipstream. This is going to be a good opportunity. Keep the slipstream as long as you can, but the gains just aren't there. The Ferrari too slippery in a straight line, and Volk has to back out the move on Nespolini. On the outside goes to GTP. Look at the speed difference through these downforce dependent corners. Oriole really, really losing time here now to the cars ahead. Nespolini 4 seconds nearly back off the back of Izzo. Looks like Denzel must have changed all those tyres to be that far back. I know he's losing a little bit of time on these laps, but it seems like the only possible
We
thing.
just had a little incident between 3rd and 4th place in the GTP class. A little contact there, resulting in a spin.
Jan on the inside. Contact. Let's see if we can take a look at the onboard. Quinton Verdonk trying to go around the outside. It's hard to tell from that angle. Let's take one more look at it. Oh, on the grass on the inside there, that was Jan. That's why they were so slow. And I'd say from that angle, it looks like Quinton left the room. In fact, it didn't even look like it was contact there.
I think Quinton left the room on the inside to go too wide and already aimed for utilizing the traffic to overtake. So
Just
he
understeer
just
from Jan.
leaves barely room on the inside for that one GTP, but not for the other GTP for Vollmer to move over to overtake the GT3 as well. So Vollmer will be stuck behind the GT3, and that's what caused the contact in the end, because Vollmer did want to prepare himself for that overtake towards the GT3.
Spin there for Daniel Ricciardo. Teo's had an incident as well. Oh, has he gone the wrong way at the chicane? No rear wing. Let's take another look at that. Whoa. Oh, already lost it here. Yeah, no rear wing already. Oh, gonna lose it mid corner. To say, nicely done to keep it pointing in the relative. Oh, and that's the rear wing gone there. Rejoins fairly safely, but what isn't going to be fairly safe is this run through the final corner. So that happens when you got no rear wing. Be kicking himself he didn't pull into the pit lane there.
Really unfortunate, the positioning of the crash. Like, probably not noticing early enough that the rear wing was missing. So he thought he can drive further, and then just barely after the pit entry noticed, oh well, I probably can't drive that.
Oriol Folk has made the move on Luigi Nespolini. It's going to be into turn 1 from the looks of it. Decisive on the brakes. And clears by the time they reach turn 2. And all of that battling has brought AJ Marston into the fight as well. The battle really tightening up now for P6 in class. P5 in class even.
Just a beautiful Corvette duet right there.
Got the lap times there of Jarvis and Vincereski's. Look at that. Jarvis slower for quite a few laps in a row actually. Seems to have gained a bit of time on Ignis somehow. Not quite sure how that's happened. He was half a second quicker last time round. That's probably where the big chunks come from. Ah, sorry, I'm looking at this the wrong way around. Yes, been quicker successfully for 4 laps in a row than Jarvis. So he's closing down now. Maybe got the tyres warmed up a little bit. That was a cleared black flag there for Matteo Lemeroy. That was an instant point limit breach. He's hit 23 with those 2 spins and that contact with the wall he had. Jarvis flashes his lights. I think the only car ahead of him. Oh no. Forgive me, there is a car in front. That is the lapped car now of Matteo, and he's going, get out of my way. I'm chasing down for the win in our class. You're about to go a lap down. In fact, you are a lap down to the leader. Move out the way. Matteo, not deliberately, but definitely held up. I believe that's Daniel Reneke there. And he's going to go wide, and they're nearly going to contact. They nearly contact in the corner. Jarvis has got to be really careful and really calculated here. But fortunately there, Matteo moves out the way as the fat Porsche of Mohamed Colombo dives down the inside to try and take advantage of a slow moving BMW. And that will have scared Adam Jarvis significantly, I can imagine. Lost a little bit of time in that whole exchange. More cars into the pit lane for the final stop. These are the guys that are splitting the run fairly equally. The battle now, the main battle on track is between AJ Marston as the GTP squeezes past Adam Watson just ahead. The 2 Corvette drivers dueling it out. This is where it gets really difficult. Both obviously in the same class, but in the same car as well. So strong on the same bits of the circuit. But the advantage is you also know the weaknesses of the car ahead. And he is trying to get the move as Marston goes defensive. Sorry, as Watson goes defensive. Marston will have to try and hang close and go for a move into a braking zone potentially here. A warning for Matteo for driving erratically around the car number 16. That's a GTP. That's that was when he was going slowly to let another car by. That'll be why it's only a warning for not being more aware of what was happening with the rest of the traffic around you. Been told by the race director to keep an eye out for Daniel Knockel, who pit off sequence with everybody else. Well, that message came through about 5 minutes ago. We missed that, unfortunately. There'd definitely be people that have changed tyres, been told by race control as well. People were getting jacked up in the pit lane, so some people will have changed tyres in that first stop. Some won't have. Maybe you can make it about 2/3 of the race before it really impacts you. It's just whether you take that pain earlier or take that pain later in the race, possibly. As more cars are coming into the pits this time round. That gap between Adam and Ignis has sort of been sitting around between 4.5, 6 seconds the entire time, so no time lost or gained really in this stint. Maybe about 1.5 seconds has swung Ignis's way. Luigi Nespolini looking to make the move on Adam Watson. Both of these cars have pitted twice now. Amy, once everyone's done their final stop, does it just become a bit of a sprint race to the end?
Yeah, as it always gets. Like, you are getting into those last 10 minutes, full tension. If cars around you, you want to get it as many places as possible. Also, you're out of that window of not finishing at that point most of the time. So you already have your 80% race distance. So even if you crash, that doesn't hurt you that much anymore. So you're able to take that more risky ways to drive.
We can see that Nespolini sticking his nose down the inside of Watson, and it's going to work, you know. He's going to get to follow through, keep alongside, but he can't keep alongside through this difficult corner. Even the GTP struggling to go around the outside here. And that's going to close off the opportunity down the inside. But Watson's going to get held up in the high speed and shoved out wide. They'll be on the radio to race control surely, because that's going to let Nespolini through. He won't be happy about that as well. But Nespolini goes deep on the exit, and Watson's going to fight back. And there's nearly contact with the GTP as Nespolini goes to block. Watson had to back out of that there, but he's back alongside. Can he make it work down the outside? They're bumping on the straight as Nespolini's trying to come back across to close off the corner and take as much advantage as he can, and he's able to keep the position. Fortunately, Watson not able to grab that opportunity as well as he maybe could have done. That's a position gained or sustained, you might say, for Nespolini. He's going to have to do a bit more of that.
Incredible racing there. Nespolini really pushing the GTP nearly off the track. Rarely seen those intense moves there. Maybe confused the car on the right side with the other GT3, actually.
Yeah, very possibly. There was quite an aggressive block and quite an aggressive squeeze on the GTP. Lee Mateo's had another incident.
Sure, use the GTP for his advantage as a traffic.
Mateo was not joking. It really does look like driving this Mustang is like driving on soap without traction control. It's got no front end. And then no rear end to match it, unfortunately. As Colombo also hits the instant point limit. That'll be a drive-through for him as well. Watson in the Corvette, still trying to make the move on Nespolini in the Ferrari ahead. Oriol Falk, Alessandro Izzo, AJ Marston and Ignis are all yet to pit. Same applies to Adam Watson, Matteo Ubertali, Daniel Maggioni. Quinta Verdonk is the first of the leading hypercars to come into the pit lane. GTPs. It's going to pull back out. These are some on-road position, but there are a lot of people still left to pit. We need to keep an eye out for our GT3 and Battleland when they're both able to pit and can Can Adam Jarvis pull off the same magical move he was able to last time in the pits? But 6 seconds is a lot of fuel, so he's not going to make it all on fuel. Needs a bit of luck as well, unless Ignis is really going to start to fall off a tyre cliff in these last 10 minutes. Awesome's trying to make a move on Uber Tali as well. The Corvette not looking its strongest here today, you'd have to say. Amy, when you're driving at this point in the race, are you focusing on the cars around you, the cars that you know are on the same strategy, or are you just going as quick as you can?
I think most of the time I just go as quick as I can, because like strategy is good and cool, but at this point there's nothing really to do about it. Like, you're gonna have one stop at max if you didn't stop already, and like you can gain a lot of time there, but other than that it is just drive in those GT3s.
Yeah, Adam Jarvis inherits the lead as Ignis is into the pits, as is Denzel de Ruyver. Ignis back out on track, about 20 seconds behind. I believe the gap was about 30 seconds last time out. So, shorter stop this time round for Ignis, as expected.
By the way, I think, speaking of the GT3 AM field, Charlie Lord will have the 10 most intense minutes that he probably gonna have for a long time, because looking at him, he has 17 incident points right now, so one more cut and he gonna do a drive-through penalty, and there are, I think, at least 2 places to lose with that.
He has to pit again as well, remember, so he'll not want to get an incident point before that and have to do a drive through, because you can't serve it during your fuel stop, of course. I think we'll see him in this time round to cover off that risk. Tell you who will be loving this. Adam Jarvis. Sorry, that's not Adam Jarvis. Denzel will be loving this. A little bit of a tow in this final stage of a race to try and drag him a little bit clear of some of the cars behind him. He's got a decent buffer. There's about 8 minutes and a half to go in this race now. And Volmers is in the pit. Quinton Verdonk inherits P4. Sanchez and Preem neck and neck. Preem yet to pit though. But I tell you what, Sanchez would love to make a move in his home race on the track to move him into P2. He's running a net P2 anyway, but always satisfying to pull off an overtake. Apologies that the pace of the commentary is slowed down a little bit. My voice is starting to go. Carlos Villarejo chasing down Alexi Kimball. Only 1.8 seconds up the road. Jose has lost a little bit of time so far this lap. It's unfortunate for him. He was a bit closer, but traffic's not helped him that. As more cars are into the pit lane. Does Adam Jarvis carry on? He does. Another lap. He's made it further than he did last time. Well, sorry, he's made it about as far as he did last time. I'd expect to see him into the pit any minute now, possibly the end of this lap. Go on board, see if he's still pushing flat out. See how much lifting he's having to do here as the tyres reach the end of their life. Sounds to me like a car that's doing at least a little bit of lifting close coast to save a bit more fuel. Matteo, another black flag. He's now racked up 35 incident points. What's happened to Sergio here? Oh, behind Matteo. Oh, contact on the straight. Whoa. Oh, and big hit there. Oh, big hit. Christoph Steiler
Yeah,
there.
Matteo just losing the car through the corner there. Hitting the GTP. No blame to the GTP, but... Oh, that GTP contact
Oh.
is really a bummer at that place.
And Sanchez was running in the podium positions, remember. He's back in the pit lane now. He's going to try and use his fast repair to clear that meatball. It looks like he probably could have driven. The steering wheel's a little bit off centre. Albert Preem is closing in behind. I think Albert Preem will get him here. You would have surely thought, but he's still potentially going to come out ahead of Jan if he can get that fast repair done. Fast repair done. Go, 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 go. He's waiting for the marshals to let him go, and he is going to go. He's going to come out in P5, and he's got about 5 minutes to try and hunt his way back onto the podium. That's about 9 seconds away. He might get back up into P4. That's under investigation. 5 cars supposedly involved with 3 that took big hits. Adam Jarvis has pitted, and he's come out ahead of Ignis. In all of that chaos, we missed that. I'll tell you what their time in the pits was. Total of 28.9 seconds spent in the time for Ignis, and Adam Watson able to do it again. Tell you what, in 31 seconds. So he wasn't that much quicker. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong car. There we go. Adam Jarvis, 24 seconds in the pits. So we gained 4 seconds in the pit lane compared to his rival. And Ignis is now scrambling as another car slides through on Ignis. Ignis really struggling with the tyres now, it looks like. Oh, and he's off! Big moment there for Ignis. Denzel's going to be really close to him now, you would have thought. No, 15 seconds back. Let's try and take a look at what happened there. Oh, there was contact.
Ignis just going with a bit too much speed in there, but also Dominic Knuckles just cutting the line a bit too much off of him. So, really not that easy to call.
As Denzel has to give up a position, or does he? As he says to me, ball flag, he's not going to give it up that easily. Well, he's seen what's just happened ahead and knows what that tyre drop off is like for Ignis now. He'll be trying to close. You won't be able to pass him on track, you wouldn't have thought. You'd have to be gaining about 4 seconds every minute, which would be very, very impressive. More than that, in fact, about 5. So that would be very, very impressive, because that'd be about 10 seconds a lap. So he's not going to catch him on pace, but if there are any more moments for Ignis, then it will be a great opportunity to pounce. AJ Marston within a second of Oriol Falk in the Ford ahead. Racing incident declared. That big crash that saw several cars taken out. It'll be have been reviewed thoroughly by race control, and all the drivers will be able to see the outcome of that incident looking in the post-race report that is issued by race control every time. Well, after a pretty chaotic race, it's kind of all calmed down on track. Adam Watson is trying to make a move on Adam Jarvis as Mohamed Kalamba flashes his lights to signal he's coming through. But Adam Watson trying to make that move on track, but obviously it won't be a position as they're in a different class overall. Teo Ubertali gains slightly on Daniel Knockel ahead. As our leader slides through, 22 seconds is the lead. Oyston driving that Acura to the front as he did last week. Been your highlight of the race, Amy?
I have to say my highlight is definitely how Adam Jarvis really pulled that off at the last pit stop. I still don't understand how that worked out. I mean, he did some banger laps for sure, but holy shit, getting ahead of Ignis there was a hell of a drive.
Yeah, absolutely. That was it was pretty impressive that he was able to do that. We kind of thought, you know, after the second stop maybe, and then he lost a bit of time, and he's kind of going to have to make up 6 seconds in the pits, and he was able to do that. And it wasn't all in the pits as well. His pit stop was about 3.5, 4 seconds quicker, but it wasn't 6 seconds, so he made up the time on track as well, nailing the in-lap clearly, while Ignis was perhaps struggling with the tyre drop-off a little bit. Be a lesson for all the drivers who haven't taken their tyres so far in the series during pit stops to start doing that now. As Villarejo goes around the outside there of Jesus, who will probably try and get back past, but it's going to be difficult. Christoph Steiler, I was going to say in the pits, but he's not. He's just falling back through the GT3 field because he's been in the pits for quite a while. Daniel Reneke has had a crash. Let's take a look. What's going to happen here?
Race control. Could I have a black flag cleared? I don't think you'd let me, but
Oh, as
bearing
we...
in mind 4 of the X's were from before the start getting rear-end.
Charlie Lord on the radio asking if the black
Sorry, no.
flag can be cleared. Because he's just hit the
As a
18X.
general rule, we do not remove drive-throughs for incident points.
Really
regardless
unfortunate
of
there.
how they came there and how much it's your fault or not your fault. Sorry.
Charlie Lord given a black flag, but the message came a little bit too late from race control. It's too late to pit now, so we'll have to take it as a post-race penalty. He will lose P5, but ultimately what he can take away from today is that the pace has been there, been pretty competitive. Not quite the performance he would have wanted in qualifying, but without some of the incidents he's had, he definitely would have been much closer to the back of the cars ahead as well. So very good performance from Charlie Lord in that beautiful looking Mustang. Checkered flag has fallen. Oyson Hereford is your leader and your winner of today's race. Very impressive race performance from him. Adam Jarvis has won in GT3 AM. Daniel Morphy is a third place car in GT3 Pro. Quinton Verdonk has crossed the line in second place, as was expected. Ignis crosses the line in P2. That's Adam 2, Ignis 0 in that battle at the front there. So Ignis will need to go back to the drawing board and have a little bit of a rethink on how he attacks these races. With that dominant performance from Jarvis 2 weeks in a row. We say dominant, they were very close, but he has done it. 2 for 0. Fabio Ponta is yet to cross the line in GT3 Pro. Nearly there, just because of his position on track when the leader came across him. But he's gonna take the win surely, unless something goes tragically wrong in these final few corners. Always dangerous to say as a commentator. But he is going to come across the line and take the win in GT3 Pro for 07 Racing. Pretty dominant performance from him as well. We didn't talk about it much. We didn't talk about Oyster Hereford much as well. But that just shows you're doing the job that you need to do. Amy, I know you said your highlight of the race was seeing Adam Jarvis pull off that move. Was he also your driver of the day?
In terms of battle performance, yes, I would say so.
Very nice. Right, Amy, I'm going to send you back to the steward's room at Andy's request, and I'm going to drag some people in for interviews. Thank you very much for joining me.
It was a pleasure.
All right, everybody, that was round 2 of the Anti-Stall Racing IMSA series. We've got a couple of drivers to interview, and just trying to drag them down now. They're way up the list on my screen, unfortunately. We've got Denzel and we've got Adam Jarvis from the AM class. So we'll go to you first, Adam. That was a win. That was not a win that the commentary team saw coming. We thought you were going to try and do what you did last time, but that last sort of a few laps before the pit stop and the pit stop itself, very impressive to come away with the win.
Oh yeah. I was maybe like 6 seconds behind Ignis after the first round of stops, and yeah, bigger fuel tank meant I could run a bit longer, save a bit more fuel. I think I had 2 laps on everyone else, and then came out the pits and was ahead, which was kind of surprised about.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Ignis had a little bit of a moment after you came out ahead, but he was very close to you as well, so we were in for a great battle, but it was just very calm and collected from you, and very impressive to come away with the win after essentially sitting in P2 for most of the race.
Yep, I settled into P2, and yeah, I was checking my fuel, and at one point I was maybe going to do a 1-stop, but yeah, didn't have the tow for the second half of the race, and yeah, I have to check the replay and see what happened to Ignis.
Okay, well, congratulations, well done, very good race.
Thank you.
Two for 2, so let's see if you can make it 3 for 2 next time out. 3 for 3.
Cheers.
Okay, Denzel. Obviously, you debuted in the Anti-Stall Racing IMSA series last time out, and you come away with a P3. I think last time out you were caught up with an incident in lap 1, turn 1, but today a much more successful performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did still have the incident on lap 1. I just saw the footage. That's just kind of, it felt a bit like netcode. But aside from that, the race was, it was, for the most part, it was boring because I was too slow to fight the guys up ahead and too fast to get any pressure from behind. Up until after the final stop, when I somehow managed to undercut one of the pro cars and had a nice fight. But, I kept it mostly incident-free, so I'm happy with that. Bit too many off-tracks for my liking, but no drive-through, so whatever.
That's all a work in progress, isn't it? Particularly in a new car like the Mustang. And did you find the track today challenging for off-tracks? I know it looks like a lot of people did, and I know last week in particular was very challenging as well at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring is pretty notable for being trash for track limits, but Barcelona is pretty sketchy as well. Especially with temperatures this high, and with the tires just wearing out so much, the balance of the car changes so much throughout the stint that every lap is just something new, a new adventure, really. And especially turn 9, which has a bit of an odd track limit in that it's the white line compared to where the other corners might be more the end of the curb. I think that's the one where I got most of my off tracks. Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the podium, and hopefully it can continue that way.
Thank you.
Okay, Oyston, congratulations, winner in GTP. Despite the bop on the Acura, able to win by 21 seconds. Looks like most of your challenges were traffic-based.
Yeah, I have my thoughts about the BOP. I think the car is too strong, and that the kilos that are added to the car probably doesn't fix the main issue with the car. I think it would probably be better with some power percentages and leave the kilos alone, because now you can push very hard for 2-3 laps, and then you have to manage tires for the rest, but it's still quicker. So I think maybe I would look at the BOP, honestly.
Okay, well, I'll pass that message along to race control and see if they want to try and do something a little bit different to try and close up the pack. But congratulations, pretty dominant win. I believe you won last time out, unless I'm mistaken as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit like our winner in GC3 AM, 2 for 2. So congratulations and good luck for the rest of the season.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, everybody, that is the end. We'll quickly run you through the results if we can get them up on screen quickly. It's a little bit difficult because I am running all by myself today. So let's go to the results there. Oysten Herford, who you just heard from, came home to win the race by 20 seconds over Quinton Verdonk. Albert Priem in P4, Jan Volmers. Albert Priem P3, sorry, Jan Volmers in P4. Sergio Sanchez down in P5 after that really difficult incident that he was caught up in. Able to use his fast repair, but unfortunately unable to get back onto the podium at his home race. Daniel Reneke in P6, Alejandro Vargas P7, Mohamed Kalambo in P8, and Christopher Steiler in P9. He may just get points, I believe. Emre Kamalde in P10, who won't get points for finishing that far down. GT3 Pro was won by Fabio Ponta by 4 seconds. We didn't really see much or hear much from him during the race, but it was very, very dominant drive. Vincent Ossam's in P2, Daniel Moore PP3, who had a pretty quiet race as well, but clearly close upon the leader. He wasn't a lap down. That is just how the timing board scores it when you take the checkered flag a lap early. Alessandro Izzo was P4, Oriol Foch in P5, AJ Marston in P6, Luigi Nespolini in P7, Adam Watson P8, Dominic Nochel in P9, Matteo Ubertali in P10, Daniel Maggioni in P11, and Kiko Lakaye in P12. Apologies, I'm starting to lose my voice quite quickly. GC3 AM, we'll quickly run you through. Adam Jarvis, Ignis came home in P2 after that very, very good race between the two of them, and obviously won out on strategy in the end. That 10-second gap does not show how far apart they were. Ignis had a couple of moments on his outlap, otherwise it would have been probably within a second of each other all the way through the race. Well, at the end of the race and at the start, they separated a little bit during the middle, as I'm sure you all saw. Denzel Aruba in P3 with a podium debut in the ASR IMSA series. Congratulations to him. Alvaro Valsarque in P4, Jose Villarejo in P5, Jesus Savadero rounds off that trio in P6, Alexi Kimball in P7, Anthony Katara in P8, Charlie Lord in P9, and Matteo Lemroy is going to come home in P10 overall, with quite a few incident points racked up, which led to that 3 laps down, multiple drive-throughs, and a couple of incidents served. Right, we'll be back next week for Interlagos, which we have got a forecasted weather for, and it is going to rain, we expect, so a very exciting race coming up next week. After that, we are on break for a short period of time, break for 2 weeks, in fact, to allow people to prepare for and race in the Spa 24, and then we'll be back for the Nordschleife, for Nürburgring after that, but looking forward to seeing everybody back next time round, and thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.